At this time, a special video from Sophia Muirhead, CEO and President of IEEC Caribbean.
Good morning, everyone. It is my distinct pleasure to share a few reflections with you today about a place that means so much to me, St. Andrew High School for Girls. It is not just simply a school I once attended. It's a place that helped shape my values, expand my sense of possibility, and prepare me for the journey that followed. Like so many alumni, I remain deeply proud of St. Andrew and profoundly grateful for the role it has played in my life. What has always set SAHS apart is not only its long and distinguished legacy, but frankly, it's the way it continues to prepare young women for the world they will inherit and help to share. The future requires women who are confident, capable, curious, and prepared to lead in a world that's changing at an extraordinary speed. Technology is at the center of that change, and it's shaping and reshaping how we live, how we learn, how we work, and how we solve problems. It is creating new industries, transforming established professions, and opening pathways that did not exist for earlier generations. So, for young women, this is a moment of tremendous opportunity. There are so many opportunities in engineering, computer science, medicine, business, law, research, entrepreneurship, and in innumerable emerging fields that will continue to evolve in the years ahead. But beyond any one profession, technology offers something much, much broader. It offers the chance to create, to innovate, to lead, and to help shape solutions to some of the world's most pressing challenges. And that is why girls' education remains so important. When we educate girls in ways that challenge and inspire them, we do more than prepare them for exams. We're preparing them to think critically, speak confidently, adapt to change, and to pursue lives of purpose and impact. An all-girls high school education, and I'm speaking from personal experience here, offers a uniquely valuable environment, one that girls can build with confidence, discover their strengths, and grow into leadership without hesitation. It gives girls the space to test their abilities, to raise their aspirations, hear their own voices, and see themselves as fully capable of excelling in any field they choose. And so, attending St. Andrew High School for Girls is and has been a very, very important part of my personal story. The education I received at this school gave me knowledge, of course, but it also gave me confidence and discipline and a belief that I could aspire to more. And the impact of that experience has extended well beyond the classrooms on Cecilia Avenue. I remain so grateful for the opportunity to participate in performing arts and sports. I have fond memories of the drama club, field hockey, and playing tennis. And those experiences taught me elocution, discipline, teamwork, resilience, and perseverance, all lessons that have stayed with me long after I left SAHS. In fact, I still have my field hockey stick and I still have my wooden tennis racket with me to this day. One's in my office and one's hanging on a wall. but they are small but really, really meaningful reminders to me of my years at St. Andrew and of the ways this school helped shape not only what I have learned, but who I was becoming. And to the teachers and the many adults who support the young women of St. Andrew, I want to offer my sincere gratitude and encouragement for what you do. Your role is profoundly important. You're helping to nurture talent, build confidence, and expand horizons. You're not simply supporting students through their school years. You're helping to shape the women they will become. So please continue to encourage the young women of SAHS to be bold, to be curious, and to see technology not as something distant or intimidating, but rather as a space where they belong. Help them understand that their ideas matter, that their voices matter, and that their contributions will matter in the future we are all building together. As St. Andrew High School for Girls enters its second century, I am filled with optimism. Its legacy is strong, its mission is enduring, and its future is bright. It is with gratitude, admiration, and great pride that I'm pleased to share that I'm making a personal donation of 1 million Jamaican dollars to St. Andrew High School for Girls. And may this remarkable institution continue to educate, inspire, and empower generations of young women for many, many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sophia, for that tremendous outpouring of, reflectiveness on Jamaica and on our institution. And of course, the contribution of $1 million. I see Principal is quite excited by that, and we are very happy at that contribution. Thank you so much. Without further ado, we do have our entertainment segment for lunch. But before we get into that, let me say welcome. I am your Master of Ceremonies for this afternoon. I'm Nicole Roberts Holness, old girl, past PTA president, and I'm really tremendously heartened to be here to oversee this section of an exciting day that we've had in our conference so far. Mrs. Reid, you know. At this time, I will welcome our entertainment. It's our saxophonist at this time, Amiel Rogers. Mr. Radley Reid, Chair of the Board of Management and members of the school board, Mrs. Kiva Ingram, Principal, St. Andrew High School for Girls, Mrs. Abigail James, Vice Principal, Upper School, Ms. Sharilia Borasing, Vice Principal, Lower School, members of the St. Andrew High School staff and the students, our honoree and special guest, Mrs. Sharon Reid, and her husband, Mr. Donovan Reid, and other members of her family and friends who are here. Dr. Maxine Henry Wilson, Chair of the St. Andrew Foundation, along with members of the Foundation Board, and Maxine wears two hats at this occasion. She's also Chair of the conference that was held today, as well as Chair of the Centenary Committee. And I also welcome other members of the Centenary Committee. Mr. Mark Barnaby, President of the St. Andrew High School Parent Teachers Association, and other members of the PTA Executive. Mrs. Sharon Williams-Smith, President of the Old Girls Association, and other members of the Executive. Mr. Kevin Facey, Principal of Meadowbrook High School, and his wife, who is also an old girl. Kevin says, I need to be called the husband of, but okay. Mrs. Past principals who are here, Mrs. Alison Bowes, Mrs. Yvette Booth-Smith, Mrs. Georgia Roper, Mrs. Claudette Logan, Paulette Logan, Mrs. Esther Tyson. Let me also welcome Reverend Asta Carlisle, our chaplain of St. Andrew High School, one of our chaplains, other esteemed and distinguished members in the audience, friends all, good afternoon to you. Really, it is with deep joy and heartfelt gratitude that I welcome you to this wonderful occasion, a gathering of love and respect for a woman whose name is forever woven into the fabric of our school, Mrs. Sharon Reid. Today, we do not simply honor a past principal. We celebrate a visionary leader, a mentor, and a friend. Mrs. Reid's years of service were marked by wisdom, grace, and an unwavering devotion to nurturing not only bright minds, but compassionate hearts. She believed in excellence, yes, but also in the power of kindness, integrity, and faith. Her leadership was never about authority alone. It was about inspiration, about lifting others up, and about ensuring that every girl who walked through the gates of St. Andrew High left with confidence in her voice and courage in her spirit. As we gather in fellowship this afternoon, let us all remember the many lives Mrs. Reid has touched, the girls she guided, the teachers she supported, the parents and staff members she comforted, the traditions she upheld, and the legacy that she built. Mrs. Reid's influence continues to ripple through generations, and today we pause to say thank you. We are delighted to have everyone here, each and every one of you. For this occasion is not only about looking back with appreciation, but also about celebrating the ongoing impact of Mrs. Reid's vision in the lives of all who passed through the halls of St. Andrew High School. So let us share in fellowship, laughter, and food, yes, fun memories as we raise our voices in gratitude for a leader, a mentor, a friend who gave so much of herself to this institution. So on behalf of the committee, I want to extend a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. We know this afternoon will be filled with laughter, a lot of fond memories, and the spirit of community that Mrs. Reid herself embodied so beautifully and wonderfully when she was here. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Mrs. Sharon Williams-Smith to bring greetings on behalf of the Old Girls Association. Sharon?
So I want to recognize Master of Ceremony, Mrs. Nicole Roberts Holness. I definitely want to recognize Mrs. Sharon Reid and her husband here with us, Mrs. Kiva Ingram, Mr. Radley Reid, who is here with us, Mrs. Maxine Henry Wilson, Reverend Asta Carlisle, other members of the other members of the St. Andrew family, other members of the St. Andrew family, members of the exec of the Old Girls, or invited guests, good afternoon. Well, I tell you, a quote by Anne Duncan, former U.S. Secretary of Education, states that wherever you find something extraordinary, you'll find the fingerprints of a great teacher. I'm sure we all agree that our beloved institution, which is this year celebrating 100 years, is far from ordinary and is simply extraordinary. We can also agree that across this extraordinary campus are the fingerprints of our great teacher, educator, principal, who made raising funds an art form. Mrs. Reid was instrumental in raising funds to refurbish the Margaret Gartrow Hall, where we are, building the Marine Chang Conference Room, refurbishing the admin building and creating a boardroom, creating the garden theater, returfing the tennis courts, refurbishing the area of a PE and gym now known as the Dale Repole building, refurbishing the Doris Stockhausen building, and expanding the guidance counseling department and the library. What a mark she has made. Mrs. Reid, the ease with which you transitioned between being an educator, an innovator, and a fundraiser was simply exceptional to witness. Your love for the school and your commitment to creating a wholesome learning experience for all students gave you the drive and tenacity to dream big, set bold goals, and never take no for an answer. Sometimes persons may have thought to themselves, is Mrs. Reid crazy? But somehow your cool confidence and charisma made them believe in the ability to achieve what may have seemed impossible. Mrs. Reid, on behalf of the executive of the Old Girls Association, I express our appreciation to you for being such a visionary leader and for choosing not to hide the talent that you were given, but instead to use it wisely to impact the lives of so many individuals. We pray that the Almighty God will continue to lead you, provide for all your needs, and bless you immensely. Thank you for the legacy you have created, which we now have the opportunity to enjoy. Thank you for playing your part so that our young ladies can live a life more abundant. We thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. An innovator indeed, a builder. Yes, Mrs. Reid, you knew how to fundraise and you made it seem so flawless and easy. The parents could not say no when you came. At this time, I'm going to invite our PTA president, Mr. Mark Barnaby, to bring greetings.
Good afternoon, everyone. Afternoon. So I'm bringing a small tribute on behalf of the PTA. So according to John Maxwell, leaders see more than others and before others. This truth was clearly reflected in the life and leadership of Miss Reid. A true visionary with the foresight that shaped St. Andrew High School into the institution we proudly stand on today. On behalf of the PTA, I express sincere gratitude for your years of dedicated, purposeful service, and in speaking with parents who experience that leadership, a common theme emerged: your humility, your care, and your ability to make every interaction feel personal, always marked with a firm kindness. A leadership grounded in Scripture. Whatever your hand find to do, do it with all your might. Ecclesiastes 9, verse 10. Ensure that you led with excellence, discipline, and intention, constantly setting a standard that inspired both staff and students. With God at the center, how could you go wrong? During your tenure, the values of this great institution were not only taught, but deeply embedded into our students, always setting the expectation that St. Andrew young ladies conduct themselves at all times with dignity and self-control. This motto became a living standard under your stewardship. Parents also reminded me how often you spoke of providential hand of God. Indeed, your leadership can only be described as providential. You served at a time and in a manner that had left a lasting, meaningful legacy. And as this school continues its journey, now under Ms. Ingram, the foundation you helped to build remain evident in its continued excellence and character of its students. From the PTA, we thank you for your partnership, your openness, your shared commitment to the holistic development of our students, your impact extended beyond the classroom straight into our homes and our families. And for that, we remain grateful, deeply grateful, for your visionary leadership to the Andrews legacy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. May I invite at this time Board Chairman, Mr. Reid.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My first contact with Mrs. Reid, with Sharon, was not when I came here as chairman in January 2006. I had heard about her before and what a powerful woman she was. But it was not until when I met her as principals that I really saw and felt the power of her voice, her demeanor, and what she stood for. I clearly remember in the principals' meeting, and especially in ISA, when she spoke, especially about sports, she spoke with integrity, with fair play, and with a voice that all of us listen to. So when I came to St. Andrew in 2006, I was delighted to be in her presence after knowing the person she was. As was said before, she spent 38 years in this institution, 20 of which she served as our principal. But of course, it is not just the numbers of years she spent, it's the quality of service she gave over those 38 years, whether it was classroom teacher, supervisor, vice principal, or principal. What is so important is that we cannot forget and we cannot underplay the influence she had on her students and her teachers. She was a visionary, as has been said so many times today. She could see beyond the present and look into the future. In the country, we would call her the woman with the sparkling eye. And so her actions, the structures she placed in the school, not just physical structures, and as you heard, there were many structures. I have all of them written down, but I won't repeat. One was left out, first for Jamaica, the Emory James Museum. That was a first in Jamaica. Sharon was a great motivator for her staff, her students, and for members of the board. If she said something is going to be done, we know it would have been done properly, with integrity, with all of the attributes that are necessary in a Christian school. As you look around this campus, I would say that 90% is Sharon's work. She might not have put up the building, but she changed tremendously the aesthetics of this campus. This is one of the most beautiful campuses of high schools in Jamaica. There are some high schools which are beautiful, and I will admit, and I see some people laughing, and they think I'm going to mention Campion. But I am telling you, Campion is not the one in my mind. Not to say it is not a beautiful campus, but I see campuses around with a lot of land space, with beautiful lawns and large lawns. But what Sharon did was to use the space which she had and converted it into something of beauty. Of course, innovation is her second name. Sharon Innovation Reid, because she brought so many things into play in her years here at St. Andrew. I would say Sharon was and continues to be the moral compass of St. Andrew High School. She stood firm where she had to be firm. You know, the position of principal at times can be a very lonely one, especially if you're standing up for standards, you're standing up for values, you're standing up of things which you believe must be sustained. And Sharon is that person. To call her an extraordinary principal is putting it very lightly, very, very lightly. But indeed, she was. And so today, I want to bring on behalf of the Board of Management greetings and to say that we are most thankful to God for having someone of the character, someone of diligence, someone with such strength to have been involved in the building of this great institution. And so, as you take your retirement, Sharon, we hope that you will be satisfied, and you're not a lady to be easily satisfied with what you have done. And I couldn't close but saying this. I remember when Sharon was about to retire, that we wanted her to stay longer at St. Andrew. And I went to Donovan. I was looking for permission, although she is a lady of herself, but I went, and I say, Brother Donovan, we would like Sharon to spend another 2 or 3 years at St. Andrew. I don't know if he remembers what he said to me. I remember very well. He said, 2 or 3 years? What you want to do, to give me the shell? But he didn't get the shell. He didn't get the shell. But I think she spent another 2 years with us. Thank you, Donovan. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you so much, Mr. Reid. You'd be seeing that picture is going around of Mrs. Reid. We're asking everyone, please, to sign it. It will be her memento once it's finished being signed, and the NCB has kindly consented to have it really very beautifully framed for her. NCB, Sharon. Yes, the friends of St. Andrew High School. But certainly, please ensure that you sign with your words of encouragement to Mrs. Reid. At this time, a lady who has served as her VP over the years. May I invite Mrs. Allison Bowes at this time?
Good afternoon, everyone. It really is my distinct pleasure to stand here this afternoon to give tribute to someone who I can genuinely call a phenomenal woman. Can we put our hands together for Mrs. Sharon Andrea Reid? But before I go any further, I want to ask 2 ladies to stand. Mrs. Paulette Logan and Mrs. Georgia Roper. These 2 ladies, along with myself, worked very closely with Mrs. Reid. We were support to her, we were friends to her, prayer partner with her, and I want to say thank you 2 ladies also for making my time at St. Andrew High School memorable. Thank you very much. I could stand here and recount the number of occasions, the numerous occasions on which Mrs. Reid demonstrated that she was an innovator, motivator, builder, a bold transformational leader, a true Christian servant leader, a pioneer, a visionary, a woman of prayer, a woman of courage. But I run the risk of repeating what has been said by all the persons who have spoken. Having retired in 2020, I've had a lot of time to think about my time here at St. Andrew High School. A lot of time to think about my journey with Mrs. Reid. And they have brought back really very fond memories. And I have deep appreciation for who Sharon is. But there is a particular characteristic about her that I want to highlight today. Of course, I can't go into the full details, but I want to pay tribute to a woman who is deeply caring and compassionate. Deeply caring and compassionate. Something that is missing and lacking across the landscape in our country. But I remember those days when Mrs. Reid was a stickler for discipline, the rules you must obey. At the beginning of the term, we usually have a grace period for students to come back in the right uniform. I remember this particular occasion when the grace period had ended and a student came back in the incorrect shoes. She was brought to the principal's office, and I think she was in my upper school, which I was the vice principal for at that time. And we spoke to her about her incorrect shoe. And at the end of it, Mrs. Reid spoke to her parent, and the long and short of it, Mrs. Reid arranged for her to get a new pair of shoes. I thought that was kindness epitomized. But not only that, there were several times, many occasions, when students couldn't pay their school fees, students couldn't pay for their graduation, students had difficulty in finding bus fare or something. Mrs. Reid made sure that they were looked after. There was a student welfare program that Mrs. Reid supervised, so to speak. She would always make reference and would always encourage persons to donate. She had the student at heart, students who faced emotional difficulties. Mrs. Reid would organize that they get counseling. Students who had sight problems, who had health challenges, Mrs. Reid would make sure that their health was looked after, that their vision was looked after. Any parent who couldn't afford something or had certain difficulties, Mrs. Reid was the one to make sure that they were looked after. Not only were students the beneficiary of her kindness and her deep care, but staff members too. Any problem staff had, and they went to Mrs. Reid, she would find a way to look after it. There were times when her deep compassion was shown, when we may have had to discipline a teacher or a teacher did something that was out of line. Although they were disciplined and the particular action taken, it moved Mrs. Reid's heart. She would always say, "Come, let us pray. Let us do this." Always at the center of her heart was a care for human beings. I was so amazed that even after Mrs. Reid left here, I must also add that Mrs. Reid knew no class, no boundaries. She didn't see people by their color, by their class, by their status. The ordinary man Mrs. Reid cared deeply about them. And I found that so remarkable. A woman of prayer. There were so many times we as vice principal huddled together to pray over a student who got her identity confused, to pray over a student who had emotional problems, to pray for a teacher who had difficulties. That is the measure of the woman we celebrate today. A deeply caring individual, a compassionate, humble servant of the Lord. I can only say to you, she has impacted me in so many ways. And even while we reflect on her today, I would say to you, as you honor her, as you remember her legacy, let us not forget this human characteristic that is so missing in our landscape of Jamaica today. Let us care for one another. Let us be compassionate with those who may not be able to afford it, with those who you may think have lesser status than you do. To honor Mrs. Reid's memory, to honor her legacy. Let's be deeply kind and caring as she demonstrated as an able role model. Thank you very much. I've been asked to do the citation to Mrs. Reid at this time. Citation to Mrs. Sharon Andrea Reid, Principal, St. Andrew High School for Girls, 2000 to 2020. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with your might. Ecclesiastes 9, verse 10. This Bible verse has been Sharon Reid's guiding principle throughout her life. Grounded in faith and Christian living from a very early age, Sharon was destined to fulfill her calling as a teacher, administrator, and leader par excellence. Both her parents were strong influences in her life, as she attributes her love and passion for teaching to her mother, a teacher and a principal of a primary school, who instilled in her the value of being a good servant leader. Her fearlessness to achieve her goals came from her father, a risk taker and a successful entrepreneur. Sharon Reid served the St. Andrew High School for Girls with distinction for 38 years. She was appointed vice principal in 1995 and acting principal in 1997. Her appointment as principal heralded yet another era of inspired leadership, building on the legacy established by previous principals and placing St. Andrew High School for Girls at the forefront and cutting edge of education in Jamaica. Having recognized early in her career that effective leadership thrived on teamwork, shared vision, trust, and collaboration, Sharon Reid worked well with her teachers, parents, students, and the old girl family and well-wishers in accomplishing the significant milestones achieved under her leadership at St. Andrew High School for Girls. She spearheaded the development of 3 5-year strategic plans, ably supported by old girl Zara Orain. She was able to gain the full buy-in of her PTA and parents, like Maureen Chang of blessed memory, to ensure the expansion and modernization of the school's infrastructure and programs to enable the students to meet the challenges of the 21st century education. In 2001, the integration of information technology across the curriculum was achieved And in 2002, the Performing Arts Department was established. A third-floor science block was constructed in 2003. The Innovative Student Resource Center was established in 2004, and the Learning Enhancement Program, which was designed by the center, is now formally housed in the Dahlia Repole Complex. The 80th anniversary celebrations in 2005 saw the establishment of the St. Andrew High School for Girls Foundation, pivotal in garnering funds to maintain the St. Andrew High School legacy of life more abundant. Under Sharon's visionary leadership, enhancements and construction activities continued, and the Garden Theatre, a major accomplishment, was completed that year. In 2007, the old office building was refurbished and a boardroom created there. Cecilio Park was opened in September 2010 to provide the much-needed green space for quiet, peaceful reflection. The Emory James Museum that we've heard about already was also opened in that year and houses exhibits of the school's history, events, and special memorabilia. In 2012, 2 other renovation projects were completed. Science Laboratory 35, originally built in 1944, and the Faye Saunders Counseling Center was upgraded to meet the increasing demands for student counseling. Furthermore, the Center for Career Advancement Leadership Scholarship, CALS, was established to provide career guidance and college counseling for students. In 2013, the Bring Your Own Device, BYOD, as you've heard of before, initiative allowed students to take their own computing device to school and use them for learning. This was accompanied by the installation of a school information management system that integrated all stakeholders. The staff were also blessed to have been the recipient of this innovator's ideas concerning information technology. She was way ahead of her time. She saw so much more then that we have grown to appreciate now. Mrs. Sharon Reid looked for solutions to meet the growing needs of students and teachers alike. And she took the initial steps to purchase the land which housed the Faye Simpson Preparatory School. The purchase was completed in 2019, and accommodation for students is now a reality. Compliments to Mrs. Reid's perseverance and undaunted approach for change. The Garden Theatre, which we have used for so many school activities, was another of Mrs. Reid's brainchild. The stage was completed and boasts an enclosure to be used as a food lab for the students wanting to study food and nutrition. We could go on and on to heap praises and compliments on Mrs. Reid. But today, the St. Andrew High School for Girls family salutes and thanks you, Mrs. Reid. Sharon Andrea Reid, we thank you for your exceptional leadership displayed during your tenure at the St. Andrew High School for Girls, and wishes for you a life more abundant. Let's hear it from Mrs. Reid.
All of our love and gratitude to one and only Sharon Andrew Reid. You know, there's just so much goodwill out there for Mrs. Reid. So when we said we wanted a photo, Paul Brand, who is not here because he's down at Wolmer's, they have detained him for something. He wanted to be here, Mrs. Reid. He chose this, he gave us 5 photographs, and we chose this one. We thought it represented Mrs. Reid very well. But more than that, when I said to him, so how am I going to get it enlarged? He said, don't worry, I'll do it. And he did this one and another smaller one, which I gave to Mr. Reid on his insistence. And he said Mrs. Reid was responsible for much of his development here through the school. He said, I would never charge you for anything to do with Mrs. Reid. And thanks for signing it. We're going to frame it, so we're going to take it back from her, having given it to her. Oh, Mrs. Reid, I gather you don't have a lot of luck with orchids, but we thought you needed one just the same as a part of our treasuring of you.
One last picture. Go further in the middle. More to the left, more to the right. All right.
Again, goodwill. When we said we were having this function, I called Judith Alberg and said, what can you do for us? Here is the product of what she and a young past student by the name of Danielle Gordon produced for us.
There was never any plan to be a principal. This job is not easy. I never even applied for the job at St. Andrew. And there are so many things I wanted to do. My requirements of the girls was sometimes a little bit more than what most people would believe was acceptable. Self-control, discipline, improving academic performance. And there are times when you feel overwhelmed. And the Lord said to me, Sharon, I am going to do a work through you that you would not dream of or imagine. From I was very young, I always wanted to teach. So I used to teach the flowers and the chairs and I was always the one, even my younger cousins, and they weren't much younger than me, I was teaching them. I have several teachers in my family. My mother, she's a retired principal. She said, Sharon, somebody has to teach. She emphasized the importance of good teachers. I finished university in 1979, went and taught for 2 years at Glenmuir High, and then went and did my diploma. I did my teaching practice at St. Andrew, and Miss Reader offered me the job to stay on, and so I did. I've done almost everything there is to do in leadership at St. Andrew. So very early I became a senior teacher. Then I was in charge of stationery, very important job, you can imagine. But I was house mistress, dean of discipline, sixth form supervisor. Then I was vice principal for 2 years before I started acting in 1997. So when I came to the job, I had a real full understanding of what the needs were. And so my goal was to work at improving on any area that I could. Leadership can be a very lonely job. When you're at the helm, it isn't always easy. And to be honest, sometimes you're seeing things that nobody else is seeing. And so one of my big challenges was to so motivate my staff and to get them on board. When we had the first social interaction day, for example, and everybody saying they wonder how this thing was going to work and all that. And they said to themselves, well, see Mrs. Reid working so hard, make us just go and help her, you know, kind of thing. The challenge of not being afraid of criticism once you are in leadership, people are going to talk about you. I said, don't we talk about the Prime Minister and everybody else? And so I came to realize very early that I'm not to be daunted by people just expressing themselves. Don't mind that. Just do the work. Focus on the task at hand, and the work will speak for itself. Every school is different, every culture is different, and it's the people on the ground working together who will be able to chart the course for those students who have been brought into their care. How are we going to prepare them to teach them, along with the technical skills, those values of honesty, integrity, all of our core values? Education without a moral foundation will get us nowhere. We have many educated thieves and criminals around. Coming to St. Andrew was not by chance. I believe I was on assignment by the Lord. I am a firm believer in the Lord Jesus Christ. And the way how He charted my course at St. Andrew, I had no doubt that I was there for a reason. I knew that I had an assignment, and if I just worked with the Lord, worked with Him, He would work it out. And what an amazing journey it has been.
So much has been said. I don't know what else to say. As a matter of fact, my husband will attest to the fact that I tried to write something. But I've been at St. Andrew so long that if I were to begin writing, we wouldn't leave here. But there are some things that came to my mind. Some have been said, but I just thought in expressing gratitude, first of all, to the Centenary Committee for thinking it important to recognize me in this way. I knew that when I just retired chairman of the board, there was this big plan and all the rest of it, and then COVID came, and so all of that went by the way. But I didn't mind, because you know, the higher monkey climb, the more them exposed. Anyway, in expressing gratitude to the Centenary Committee, I must also express gratitude, thanks to the foundation, to Maxine. You know, all that hard work and the team. I don't see Jessica here, but I know, oh, she's online, that a lot of work. Nobody has to tell me about that, how much work went in to planning this occasion. You already heard about my own parents, and they were something else. My mother just talk about open, you know, having an open house. I remember my mother's principal, she was the founding principal of Effortville Primary School, and it was in a fairly depressed area, and my mother would take, she told me, all of my toys and so on up there that the children could come into the office anytime, you know, to play with them and so on. And my dad, he was one of the hardest workers I know. They used to say that Mr. Kenny opened Maypen and closed it at night. He was a baker, truck owner, gas station, everything. He just was a hard worker, probably worked too hard. And he was a builder. So this whole thing of building, but I'll say more about that after. In my early years, primary school, the whole creativity, all of that. I went to Maypen Primary. My mother was a teacher there, but it was a school that burst with creativity. So this going to festival, and I got all bronze medal for Miss Lou and all those things. All of those things building in me the creative side of me. My very good friend Shirley Richards is here, and so when I mention Hampton, my alma mater, and the girls know it, very dear to my heart, our heart. The motto for Hampton was with the utmost courage and courtesy. Summa virtute et humanitate. And that was drilled in us. And so this whole matter of courage, but courage mixed with courtesy. You know, high school, very important. Primary school, all of those things, very important. And then as the video said, my coming to St. Andrew
not by chance at all. Not by chance at all. It's amazing just how Miss Reid is from, I don't know if you know, Miss Reid is from Maypen. And so when I was to select a school, my mother said, why you don't ask Miss Reid if you can come? Because her father was the minister at our church in Maypen, St. Gabriel's. And so Miss Reid was glad to have me, because it's almost like family. But then at the end of my teaching practice, Miss Ash, I think, said to her, let us keep Sharon. So I want to pay tribute to Miss Reid, to Miss Delia Ashmead, to Mrs. Norma Darlington, for whom the building, the Ashmead Darlington building, both of them named vice principals, so important. I want to pay tribute also to my own vice principals. And here, Mrs. Bowles wouldn't know, but Mrs. Tyson, you see sitting down there, she was the first VP that I worked with. Remember, although I started in 2000 as principal, the hardest years for me in principalship was 1997 to 1999, when, having been vice principal for only 2 years, I was asked to become acting principal. And God bless Esther Tyson and Mrs. Maxine Bryan of blessed memory. We really, because you didn't know anything. And may I say, and this to even leaders, having become acting principal, I had never been to a board meeting. Never knew, all those things. So you can imagine the preparation, all the rest of it. One of the first things I did on becoming principal was ask the board, Radley will tell you, for permission for my vice principals to be attendees to every board meeting. Because in the absence of the principal, the vice principals had to do the job. And so from then I realized how important that was. So pay tribute. Mrs. Logan, Mrs. Roper, Mrs. Smith was we worked together as VP for 1 year, and then she gone to St. Hughes to become principal, and I said, what is this on me? But God was good. When I became principal, and I think it was Mrs. Bowes who brought the word at staff meeting, that time I'm nervous like I don't know what, because it is a very overwhelming job. And a word was brought after prayer in that staff meeting that has been with me. And something else, so many things I could tell you. The word was from Joshua 1, verse 9. Be strong and very courageous. Only be thou strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the Lord. This was the Lord speaking to Joshua when Moses had died. That chapter starts, Moses, my servant, is dead. That time Joshua was grieving. But it said, be strong and very courageous, that you may prosper wherever you go. Just meditate on the Lord day and night. And that was the word for me. A word coming out of from my high school days, the whole matter of courage. Don't be afraid. And some of you will know that really is not one of my attributes. I really am fearless when it comes to, once the Lord said that this is what you are to do, that is all I need. That's all I need. And I'm grateful for that. Mr. Reid will tell you, when I would present things to the board that seemed a little bit, off the cuff. I remember one time Mrs. Marjorie Hyatt said, and Audrey can attest to that, Mrs. Hyatt said, I don't know if it was the last project, the staff room, when we really never had any money and all the rest of it. And Mrs. Hyatt said, after I spoke and made my presentation and everything, Mrs. Hyatt said, well, we have supported Mrs. Reid in all the ventures in the past. I don't see why we should object now. And so the board just sort of went along with it. And what a result it was. But let me just make it very, very clear. And one of the things, a lot has been said about me, but I think probably the biggest gift that I have is motivation. There is absolutely no way that one person can do or accomplish all that is said that I did. It really was so much teamwork. I benefited from having a close huddle with my VPs. And that's why when I hear sometimes that principals and vice principals don't get on, and them, I couldn't operate like that. The admin staff will tell you that on a Wednesday morning around 10 o'clock, that kind of time, that's the only time they know they mustn't bother Miss Reid and the vice, because we're in there praying and planning every week. That was the modus operandi. Can't do it without them. Can't do it without the staff. And when I speak of staff, as you know, I'm not talking about teachers alone. Admin staff, ancillary staff. You see Miss Dixon over there? Miss Dixon was the last of a line of ancillary staff that took care of me. Sometimes when I forget to eat, them remind me. But there was Mrs. Lausanne, Mrs. Hall, all those ladies who looked after me. Can't happen without them. And then admin, when we needed a bursa. You see Mrs. Handy sitting down there? I remember when Mrs. Handy, I don't see Jolene, but when Jolene is here? Where is Jolene? Oh, she was here. Just they know the inside of the things. When we needed a bursa, I remember in the interview when Mrs. Handy, we did the interviews. I don't know if you remember Mrs. Handy, and we're kind of wondering because you're more doing operations. I think that was your last thing. And she said, "So you don't think I can do this?" And that just settled it for me. And what a journey that has been. But so important. So important, and I know I'm talking too long, so I'll soon finish. So important for all staff to work together. And Esther will tell you one of the things we made sure to champion, especially when she went off to be principal at Arden, much to my distress. We used to collaborate a lot, and one of the things we were determined to do was staff development. We planned that, and when we talk about staff development, not only for teachers, please, any day the ancillary staff stop work, school can't keep. So it was staff development for academic staff, for admin staff, for ancillary, separate. I remember the first time we had the ancillary staff, I don't know if Paulette or Georgia, Alice, if you remember. The staff was sort of wondering what Mrs. Reid going on with, because I was going to carry them over to a hotel and and they were a little bit, curious. What is this? And let me tell you see, after that first one, they reached a point where they planned their own seminars. They were telling me which speakers they wanted. They discussed what needs they had, and they were able to just go with it. Why? They were made to feel that they were important, because they were. And similarly for our admin staff, and I'd just like to encourage that kind of, to all principals, that sort of approach to leadership. Any day we feel that we can do it by ourselves, that's when we start to crumble. Cannot not mention my parents. And I have to mention Mr. Harris, Noel Harris of blessed memory. Many of you would know him. But when I just became principal, young, don't even know what I'm doing, Mr. Harris called me one day. He was on the PT and he said, "Mrs. Reid, you are the principal, You have influence. You can ask people, ask the parents anything you want. Ask them. They will do it." That was all I needed. And I never stop asking. I remember Owen Grant. Owen would say, anytime you hear that is Mrs. Reid on the phone, him no say something. And the good thing was they said they couldn't tell me no. So that was so wonderful. But to say to my parents, thank you so much. And at this point, of course, parent par excellence, Maureen Chang. The Lord sent... I can't help but think of Maureen, like even in this hall when we are here. The Lord sent Maureen. And that's why I tell you, if wisdom does not come from man, the scripture tells us that wisdom comes from God. In James, if any man lack wisdom, let him ask of God. And so all this wisdom that you're talking about is not really of me. The Lord would just put things in my spirit for us to execute. I was the implementer based on what Georgia was saying, how I would go to my bed and sleep and dream and come and tell him that, this morning I woke up early and the Lord told me so and so. and they say, here we go again. But they got used to it and were so supportive. But just to say that the Lord brought Maureen into our lives at a time when we needed that kind of support. And so we worked together. I mean, night and day. But we were driven because we knew we were doing it for a reason. There are 3 quotes I want to leave you with. Oh, no, I can't leave you yet. See my husband sitting down there? He can tell you, see his face looks serious. He can tell you how many nights when I was under stress, him have to get the ice to put on my head and all the rest of it. Strong family support for which I am eternally grateful. Danny was always there, always praying. Kirk Chang used to say, that's Maureen's husband, that anytime he and Danny wanted to find their wives, they know that they must go down to St. Andrew. If they don't see them this long time, just go down to St. Andrew, you will see them there. But thank you so much, Donovan, for all the support over all the years. And if I don't mention my children, they will not be pleased. They put up with a lot also. Jason spoke of the time, Paulette, when I couldn't find him and he was asleep under your table. So they had to put up with a lot, but thank God, all for the greater good. So the 3 quotes I want to leave with you. One of them has been said over and over because it sort of was my mantra, if they call it mantra. From we were young, Pet always remind me, anything your hands find to do, do it with all your might. And it is linked in the New Testament that whatever the Lord, whatever you do, do it heartily as unto the Lord. And for me, it was always about as unto the Lord. And then there was a quote that hit me when I was in high school. My music teacher, Vicky Matisse, had on her wall, I think it's George Bernard Shaw, never left me, I always shared with the teachers. You see things as they are and ask why. I dream things that never were and ask why not. And that really has been, that hit me, and I said, you know, I think it has governed my life a lot. And then, of course, I shared the be thou strong and very courageous. Don't be afraid. One of the things I've said to principals, don't know if Lynn Verne is still listening, I find that principals are afraid to share power with vice principals or with parents. Like when we established the PTA office, not everybody agreed because the parents now had the right to come into the school anytime, have them meetings, do whatever. But that was empowering parents. When I looked at the theme, empowering futures, I said, you know, empowering futures means empowering people. And this whole talk, and this quote now is from my own husband. When I was talking to him about something has been bothering me, and I'll just share it in closing. Everybody talking now about building your legacy. What is the legacy you want to build? What do you want? And I'm saying to myself, I don't know. I didn't come to St. Andrew to build any legacy. I came to St. Andrew to build on what was, to do the work, as I kept telling these young ones when I was leaving, just do the work. And Danny said to me that something in our discussion, he said, legacy is not a goal in and of itself, but a byproduct of service. And I just want to say in closing that I'm grateful, deeply grateful for all that has been said, all the good things that have been said. I just came to St. Andrew to do the work, to do what the Lord wanted me to do. And I do believe mission accomplished. As Radley said, it wasn't Danny alone who said no. I felt that the season had ended. My time was up. And I was happy to pass on to the next generation. And it was all power to you, but remember that power is not something that we chuck the power around. I used to tell them, don't chuck the power around. A principal has a lot of power. Don't chuck it around. learn that we all are in this thing together. Thank you.
Please, it has been such a wonderful day so far. And to top it off this afternoon, I must express thanks to our Centenary Education Committee, so ably led by Dr. Maxine Henry Wilson and her team. Please, Maxine. I know it was a lot of hard work, but thank you so much. Today was really, Andrew's Day, I would say. We're celebrating 100 years, and this is certainly a hallmark of excellence that we continue to show in our society. To Miss Jackie Tyson, our caterers, to Mr. Mawanda Townsend, our technical team, who heads our technical team this afternoon, to our decor, to our facilitator this afternoon, earlier today, Mrs. Keisha Luchang Gale, to our moderator this morning, Miss Elaine Wint. Right, okay. To our usherettes as well from school, or performers, or chaplain, I would like to extend heartiest thanks to you for making today's event such a great success. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this afternoon, we really couldn't conclude this afternoon of fellowship and celebration. We're certainly reminded of the extraordinary qualities that defined Mrs. Reid's leadership. Her resilience, her humility, and her unwavering faith in God. And just an aside, I must say, Mrs. Reid, thank you so much for the support you gave me during my tenure leading the PTA, the call, the prayers. You know it was a difficult time, but thank you so much from my team to you, just giving us that leadership and that strength during that time. Helen Keller once said, "Character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, ambition inspired, and success achieved." Mrs. Reid embodied this truth. Her resilience carried St. Andrew High School through challenging times. Her humility kept her grounded in service, and her faith gave her the wisdom to guide not only generations of young women, but each and every one of us here, staff alike, teachers, everyone. She showed us that true strength is not loud or boastful, but steady, compassionate, rooted in values that endure. As we all leave today, may we carry forward her example, leading with integrity, serving with humility, and standing resilient in the face of challenges. So on behalf of all of us here from the Centenary Committee, I want to thank you for being part of this tribute. Mrs. Reid, we honor you. We thank you, and we pray that God's blessing will continue to surround you. Of course, we're not leaving here today with reminding you about homecoming events. The party is starting, right? So today we had our education conference, Empowering Futures. Then we move on to next week is, of course, it's Champs Week. We have shirts available for sale. Homecoming, 100th year activities are ramping up, and homecoming on the 14th of April, which really begins homecoming week, is our legendary hockey match between the current Andrews girls and our old girls. I know Professor Neidman was on earlier, so she might be out there as well. We go under the stars on the 15th. Right here, it's Culture, Couture, Connect. It's an evening of cocktails, meeting up with your year group and so on. So we're looking forward to seeing you. Then we move on the 16th to Legacy Gift Opening. That's the Loy Lake Sherwood Creative Arts Center. It's by invitation, so you can look out for that as well. On the 17th, it's our open day, so you are invited to return to school to see all the changes that would have happened. It's called our Prism of Time. And of course, our grand finale, it's cocktails and awards where we'll be honoring our trailblazers. And then, of course, there's an after party that takes us up to 2 a.m. So we have something for everybody. Please come out. The tickets are still on sale. We have combo tickets available in the Secretariat, so you can go and see Karen or any one of the members. She's waving frantically behind there. So you can get your tickets at the Secretariat this afternoon, or after hours in the office, possibly, or online for Touchstone. So you have many ways to get tickets. Ladies and gentlemen, we need your support. We have so many projects to achieve, and we definitely need to see ourselves into the next 100 years. So on behalf of the committee, once again, I want to thank you for your time, for your energy, and in your support for Mrs. Reid. Do have a blessed afternoon.